Does everything have a bright side to it? Of course. Doesn't always outweigh the negatives, but everything has a bright side to it. This makes happiness a choice. And here we say that the discipline of being happy is the ultimate discipline. With that said, welcome to the Ultimate Discipline Podcast, where we meet with people who are practitioners of this exact discipline, and we hear their cool stories of cultivating happiness through challenges in their life. I am your host, Sean Greenspan. Let's get to it. Mr. Happy Hustle himself. How are you, man?
Hey, Sean. Honored to be here, brother.
Oh, I'm honored to have you. Man, I almost feel like it was like fate the way that I saw that logo the first time. I got to tell you because um, I had Taylor Morgan on, you know Taylor obviously. I had
Yep.
him on the show and I was on his website that morning. He has like all these logos that he works with and blah blah blah. And for some reason, I saw your logo. Maybe it's because we both got happiness in our DNA. And I was like, damn, that's cool. And then he hops on the call and he's wearing a Ford's cap like this. It's the same cap you had on. I saw the
Oh,
logo and I just loved it. And I was like, on the podcast, I was like, what is that? And how do I get involved? And that's kind of what kicked our relationship off.
yeah, right on, man. Well, funny story. So for those of you just listening, the Happy Hustle logo, it's like a little smiley face with a red X as one of the eyeballs. And I actually got this tattooed on my ankle before I'll show you right here on my ankle. I
Hell
don't know if you
yeah.
see that, but
Oh yeah. I
so
also
I
see you've
got.
been stretching a lot. I could never
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
yeah. I stay limber. My goal is to always be able to throw a high kick. So anyway, I got this tattooed on me in Bali, of all places, when I was under the influence. But the whole meaning of it was like, sometimes in life you get punched in the eye and adversity strikes, but you can still smile through it. And, that kind of just became like my mentality of just being happy within the hustle and, finding joy in the everyday journey. So yeah, that's cool that it resonated.
Dude, it did. So good logo, catchy, obviously good colors. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously the title too, man. I mean, really relates to what message I'm trying to push out too is how to choose moment to moment, not weekend to weekend or day to day,
Hmm.
moment to moment, how you can be happy. Because as as I'm starting to expand what I'm doing, like running my company and trying to accelerate the growth of the company and also start this like kind of branding side of things, you're doing more, but that doesn't mean like you need to be stressed by it. Like I remember even my first couple podcasts, I felt like were like I was jamming them into like the schedule and I was like had like anxious feelings around it. I'm like, Sean, if that's what you're gonna feel about, don't fucking do it. Like
Yeah,
no one's
it's
forcing you
true.
to do it. So I realized it was something wrong with me, not with the situation. Well,
Hmm.
tell us what is Happy Hustle for those that don't know.
Yeah, so well, I guess it's important to just give a quick context to the listeners and viewers. I actually was not happy hustling for uh, a large portion of my early adult entrepreneurial journey. I was grinding my face off, actually. I had a tech startup in New York City and was working like a damn dog, 100 plus hour weeks, getting, roughly 5 hours of sleep or less. And it was all for profit and success and ego driven status, benchmarks that society deems important. And I ended up having a lot of success. We were grinding so hard that we did achieve some cool things. We landed partnerships with Microsoft and IBM and had a 7-figure VC funding play on the table. And we had this whole 5-year exit and everything planned out. But I just burnt out, man. I couldn't do it anymore. I was so unfulfilled, so stressed. And I think a lot of people can resonate with like being burned out or on the brink of burnout. Well, I just, said, fuck this. There's more to life than, all these accolades and money and success, quote unquote, without fulfillment. And so I folded my tech startup. I moved to Bangkok, Thailand for about a year. And it was there where I started to figure out a better way to work and live in alignment. and a way to truly put the happy in my everyday hustle. And that's where the happy hustle was born. And now, fast forward, I have a book about it, courses, a podcast, events, and it's all about just helping, busy entrepreneurs and professionals like avoid burnout and achieve blissful balance, both personally and professionally.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. I mean, that's a cool story. And I'm wondering, do you feel like people kind of have to go through that first stage? I mean, obviously, it you had to, right? I would say I had to as well. Um, and I can share, a little bit about my story later. But do you feel like that was key to giving you like greater perspective?
I think, yes, it was key to giving me greater perspective. Do I think everyone has to experience burnout in order to, see the light? No, I don't. I think it's just like, not everyone has to go to jail to realize that, you don't want to be there. You could just look at other people's experience and learn from it. Although I did go to jail and I don't want to be there, so it's like you learn from hardship and adversity, but then you could also learn from other people's hardship and adversity and fast track your learning curve.
Yeah, man. I it's funny. It's funny because I wouldn't say that I reached like burnout, but my perspective has certainly changed. I reached where it was like, do it. I'm just doing anything I can for the bag, right? Like whatever I can do to make a buck, hell yeah, I'm doing it. That's kind of the way I was like raised. Got graduated school early. I mean, I had a blast in college, but I literally grinded to get out of school early because I had a job offer, and I was like, yo, I can start making money and stop paying for this. Started making money just working in corporate, and it was classic corporate, dude. It was
Mm.
every 9 to 12 months I was getting a promotion just enough to dangle a carrot in front of me. Great company, and we were doing good stuff, and I was excelling, so like they were promoting me. But like it was like I was definitely just doing it for money, right? Um, and then I started a company, and I realized like, okay, my goal of the company is the most amount of money I can make in the least amount of time, and that turned into the most amount of money I can make, right? Because um, if you don't put parameters around a goal, it's like most amount of money you can make in the least that amount of time. What like how do you balance that, right? Like that literally just meant the most amount of money,
Hmm.
and I realized like there were points where I was like, cool, like I definitely was good on money, but I'm gonna take on 3 new clients, and now tell my girlfriend like I can't hike with her after work. Like, mom, like when I come home, I'm coming home for 48 hours, and it's like we're just like
Hmm.
whatever. And it was interesting. This was the first year like I just realized like I mean last night I popped my laptop open. I had like 10 things, 10 tasks that I had to do. And I realized 2 of them were commitments that I told clients were going to get done. I did those. The other ones were about like outreach and things that were going to close some deals. And I was like, I'd rather get my 8 hours of sleep than sleep 4 hours tonight, like quite frankly.
Hmm.
And I personally had to go through that, as well of like, you know, not, I went through some like kind of like troubling thoughts about like, what am I doing? Like, what the hell am I doing? It was
Yep.
important, man.
Yeah. Been there. I mean, I think a lot of people can resonate with burning the candle at both ends. And, one thing too that I'd like everyone to consider is, okay, not only about the money, sure, but the impact that you're actually having in service of others. Because if you actually want to make more money, you actually need to make a greater impact and truly look at how you can solve people's problems, because that's all business is. As my buddy Wade Lightheart says, business is solving people's problems at a profit, right? So decide what problem you really feel called to solve and who exactly you want to solve it for, right? And then what is your uniqueness
Mm,
around solving that person's problem? That's from Brand Builders Group. But truly, that those different concepts, they are powerful. And I think at some point, if you continue on the rat race, you'll have enough quote unquote money to maintain the lifestyle, and then you'll reach a point where you will feel unfulfilled, and the money isn't the motive. So why wait till you get to that point to be happy? And that's what the happy hustle truly is all about, is like truly finding joy in the everyday journey. And I just think there has to be parameters, like you said, in terms of hustling, or else would just kind of keep on keeping on as driven, hard charging entrepreneurs. That's what we do. And so you have to have boundaries and parameters.
Yeah, it's funny. It almost goes against some of the things I think about, like putting parameters, not on like how much money I'm gonna make, but like how much money until I'm gonna put more time in. Like, any sort of cap related to like, like money or success. It feels weird, but I yeah, that's definitely, it has to happen, right? So I appreciate that. And I want to ask you what problem you're solving at a profit. But before I do that, I do feel we owe it to the audience a little, to just give a little bit of an intro on who you are, and a little bit of your background, because I think you've had a pretty cool story. You told us a little bit about the background, but maybe some of the things that you got to experience and accomplish over the last few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was born in Sarasota, Florida, grew up like surfing and skating, and then half in Red Lodge, Montana on my father's ranch, camping, fishing, hunting, hiking. So kind of like this hippie cowboy blend. And it was a great upbringing in that sense. I had the balance of both of these two awesome locations, but the home life was pretty, you know, I don't, for lack of a better term, like wretched in some regards. I
Yeah,
moved 24 times before the age of 18. There was a lot of mental, physical, and emotional abuse. I had love, no question, and I'm grateful for that. But there was a lot of trauma that came from it. Went down the wrong path, was doing shit the wrong way, hustling but not happy, breaking the law, almost got in real big trouble, almost died a couple times, guns to the heads, stuff like that, where I was hustling the wrong way, out of integrity. And
yeah,
you and I both are fans of Dan Millman and his work, The Peaceful Warrior, and that kind of showed me a different route of how I could be, yes, a warrior, but still peaceful, and have this yin and yang side of me. And got into
yeah,
martial arts and started to learn discipline and stuff like that. So yeah, that was kind of a little bit of the childhood. I've always been an entrepreneur. you know I'm never a very good employee. I'll just be honest. I've never been in corporate, never planned to be. But I've had multiple companies, failed forward all the while. And yeah, it wasn't until the happy hustle in my other company that I have right now called Eco Breakthroughs, which is fighting the plastic pollution epidemic and climate change. Those are like my babies, and I really feel passionate and aligned more so than ever. But yeah, I just think if you haven't found what you really feel called to do right now, if you're out there listening, don't stop and don't settle. Keep searching. And, it really does come to determining what problem you feel called to solve. And to answer your question, the problem that I solve with the happy hustle is imbalance. My one word problem is imbalance. People who are out of balance, who are, maybe full of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and close to burning out or have burned out, I help them by achieving that blissful balance, both personally and professionally. And how I solve that problem is with my 10 alignments of being a happy hustler, which I'm happy to get into if you see benefit.
yeah. I think at some point we definitely should. And man, I can tell you've done a lot of like work on yourself, because you're clearly, confident speaking about some things that require a little bit of humility. So I appreciate you opening up there, man, for sure. And no,
Yeah.
that's part of your that's part of your impact, man. That's a little side note. That's something that I'm realizing was one of my weakest points, was kind of like being vulnerable. I'm a dude, an athlete. I run my
Hmm.
business. Like, it's like I'm always like, I felt like my whole life I got to be the fucking guy, right? And now it's like, no one's the guy all the time to everybody in every situation. And
Nope.
I think it's just something to learn. But you talked a little bit about like if you haven't found what's like calling you. I'm gonna ask because I wouldn't say I've at all, got it figured out. I know you wouldn't say the same thing, but about yourself, but like, you know, um, for those people that feel like they're drowning, right? You know what I mean? It's like like he's like, Carrie, maybe easy for you to understand because you had this company that was crushing it and you had the money to whatever, step back and figure it all out, and go to Bangkok. Like for those people that you feel like are drowning, like what do you have any tips on how they can start to not even take action towards their clarity, but just find a little bit of that clarity?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just say just a little caveat like my company wasn't financially crushing it. We had the tech company in New York. Anyone who's been in the tech world or has a startup, it's like years of investment for a big payoff, right? So and you don't need much money to travel. I did not have much money to go to Thailand. I had it, first of
Yeah.
all, I did have a penthouse apartment for like $400 a month and was living like a king, but it's very inexpensive, right? So it's like, don't, again, that just plays into the limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves, so you can talk yourself in or out of just about anything. But I think for someone out there who is struggling, who is settling, you have to truly assess, what does actually success look like for you, right? I'll just ask it again. What does success actually look like for you? Then reverse engineer how to actually achieve it. And I think a lot of people, I'm a bow hunter, you know, if you've ever shot a bow and arrow at a target, your goal is to hit the bullseye, right? Now, most people in their lives, they don't have a clear bullseye. They don't know what the hell they're striving for. So, how can you actually ever achieve that success if you don't know what bullseye actually looks like or is?
Yeah. Dude, oh man, couple quick things. You're so right about the traveling. I live on the road, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, how do you do it?" Like, right now I'm in Sagal, Idaho. Uh, even though it's a beautiful area, Airbnbs aren't that expensive in Sagal, Idaho.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so I appreciate that. Um, second quick thing, when I know nothing about hunting, all I know is that I love being out. I love like any outdoor activity and the concept of hunting. This is a big tangent. I like because it's just so much more natural, environmentally friendly, stuff like that. So next time you have a bow hunting trip, let me know. I'll prepare
Okay.
what I need to prepare, and I'm there,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
for sure.
but trying to wrangle me back in, you're talking about like a target, uh and you said like what does success look like. um that's some advice. I think that's really sound advice. I've asked that question to a lot of people because like I said, I'm in this process, and that is what I think has been the absolute number one uh, factor for how I feel on the inside. It makes me now I feel like I'm on a journey because I'm starting to bring clarity to what success is to me. It was so cool. So I met this guy yesterday. We just had like a virtual, coffee or whatever you want to call it, and he runs this company called Wayfinders. Um, you should check it out. It's like 10-day trips overseas for entrepreneurs. He basically was he ran a mountain biking company, so he took people on like global mountain biking trips, and then that company was like exploding. So what do exploding business owners do? They join like EO and masterminds and all this, and he realized that he joined these masterminds and all these different groups, and there'd be guest speakers or whatever. They were nice and stuff, but what do you get out of it? The network. You meet people, right? And you
Hmm.
enjoy people, and there is coaching. I definitely don't take away from that, but he's like the main thing is you meet really good people. So he just wanted to cut all the bullshit. So he started this thing where it's just he brings out 30 entrepreneurs twice a year to crazy trips, and there's no agenda, and they connect organically while they're hiking or after they go on a mountain biking ride. And it's so cool. And I said, "What do you charge for these?" And he's charging 10,000 a trip. and he's bringing 30 people out. That's good money. Like, I'm a businessman. I'm like, that's good money. And I said, do you sell these out? He said he's done it for 10 years and he sold everyone out instantly with no marketing, because of word of mouth, started from his last trip. And I was like, dude, why don't you do more? You could scale this up. We could build a wait list, email, whatever. And he was like, Sean, I run 2 10-day vacations a year and can cover my expenses for the year and my family and everything. Life's good. And I was
Yep.
like, I took a big seat back. I was like, wow. Like, he has like, he's just like, life's good. Like, most of his life, he's on vacation. He said the hardest thing he does is like if he's doing something in like, the mountains of Bhutan, he has to fly out there and go on a vacation and experience the vacation before he takes others on it. And I was like, that doesn't sound too bad.
No, I mean, dude,
um,
you're speaking my language. That's what I do with the Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventures. I don't know how much you know about them, but I take high performing entrepreneurs into the backcountry Montana wilderness for 5 days for a digital detox. Where we learn primitive survival skills, fly fishing. We have a professional backcountry chef. We do business masterminding. I say it's structured yet very flexible itinerary. We do a lot of
yeah,
stuff that you talk about: breathwork, meditation, visioneering, all of that. And that is literally like some of the highlights of my entire year is just getting, and we do 15 guys because national forest rules, you can only have 15 in your
yeah,
party. But anyway, those are some of the highlights of my whole week, of my whole month, whole year, whole life. I mean, truly, like that's like,
yeah.
I sometimes pinch myself, and I'm charging very similar price point. So it is something I think people are craving, a connection, especially after the pandemic, right? Whatever pandemic, whatever you want to call it. But it's really important to know when you have enough too. Like, know when you like, because I could do more of these events. I'm doing like 3 to 4 a year typically,
Yep.
but I gotta say, it's like I don't work that hard. I don't want to work that hard. I'm a happy hustler. I'm like 20 hours a week. That's my sweet spot. Then I go fly fishing or horseback riding or snowboarding or to the hot springs. After this, I go to the hot springs, do my cold plunge, my sauna, all my things. Like quality of life is more important to me. And I know a lot of people will say, yeah, it's easy when you're on the other side. Well, it's actually by design I'm on the other side. And it's like that's what you have to really start to think about is what again is the life that you want to live. If you don't want to be a corporate grinder in a cubicle climbing that ladder, then make a pivot. Be brave, be
Yep.
courageous, and change it. And I recommend typically people who are looking for a pivot to start their side hustle before they make that pivot. And I know Tony
Mm.
Robbins talks about like burning the boats and then going all in. I
We
like to
talked about this
actually,
on the call. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's more important to have some type of start and build up that business or that hustle to a point where it can cover your lifestyle. Because here's why: I love sales. That's one of my superpowers, if any. That's what at least people say. And desperation never sells. And when you're desperate for your new business, it's going to be real tough to bring in the right people, and you'll end up saying no to the wrong ones. And that will cause unfulfillment. And then you're just in a whole different ball game with a lot less stability, hustling but not happy. So that's my just quick tip on that.
Dude, yeah, for sure. First of all, I do know about those Montana adventures, and I got them earmarked. I know. Remember, I was
Yeah.
gonna try to swing through, but I was in Italy, and it would have been
Mm-hmm.
like straight from Italy there, and then straight on my backpacking trip.
Yep.
I just
Yep.
circumnavigated Mount Rainier. Took 10 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, it just timing,
Yeah.
but that's good because there's
Yeah.
more
We'll get you
coming.
out there. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and oh, by the way, I've probably spent 500 days in the backcountry. I could be this
Heck yeah.
backcountry chef. I'm just saying.
Hey. Well, I gotta
um,
say, the guy who cooks, dude, He's a
He,
stud. He's got a seven-figure business. He cooks for Tom Brady, Will Ferrell, JT, and
oh,
Jessica Biel at the Yellowstone Club. He's a pro chef. Like he's not like
oh
just a
man.
campfire cook.
Oh, I was gonna say I make instant mashed potatoes. No, I'm
Oh, you're hired.
hired. No, we it was funny. Some of the days we cooked, but we did 10 straight days going around Mount Rainier. So like everything's on your back. It's a little different.
Dehydrated
It's like
food. Yeah.
oh
Now
yeah,
we pack in horses with like good stuff, like the real deal
oh
food.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I did that in the Andes when I did Machu Picchu. It was awesome. Okay,
Nice.
um, you know we're talking about kind of like lifestyle, or first you were talking about when to start the side hustle.
Hmm.
um I've really thought, and actually I've done both. I've done the very first time I said I work 60 hours a week and I'm a smart guy. If I can't make enough money to feed myself and put a roof over my head, if I work 60 hours a week, then I'm a dumbass. And I was like, and if I would do it in 59 or less hours, I've got more time back in my day. So that was cool. It fueled a fire. I definitely see what you're saying. I was working more from desperation than I would have liked. Now the flip side, the side that you're recommending, that's what I think I'm on now. So the negative side, okay, so that we're talking about start your side hustle while you have, your job or whatever. The negative side obviously is you got to burn the candle at both ends, right? You got to fit you at to some degree you have to add before you can subtract. The reason I like it though is we're talking about doing two things: lifestyle design. So like you said, like it's not like you just tripped into this life that has you situated like this. Like you've designed it. And then the other thing is it's aligns with your impact. Well, you can really do both of those if you don't need the money, right? Um, you know, like you can really focus on the actual product itself because you aren't using that, you don't need to sell it to pay for your rent or your dinner. And then, it might be slightly slower till that turns into your revenue, but I think long term it's definitely a better situation. And I think I think more tactically, it's just people really being intentional with their time and aware in the
Hmm.
moment because you're going to need to optimize that time, right? Maybe you can't sit down and have an hour and a half dinner 7 days a week, um, maybe you can't dilly dally, right? You're gonna have to get shit done.
Yeah. Well, and Pareto's law, right? A task will expand to the time allotted. So if you only have an hour to get her done, you're going to get her done in an hour. If you have 2 hours, it's going to take you two, so
Yeah.
just work harder to get more in that time allotted. And you'd be surprised. Like people will find time for the things that they actually desire. And this is something I like to call a purposeful prioritization. Just like being very purposeful with your priorities.
Yep.
And maybe Netflix isn't that much of a priority. Maybe you could work on your side business or be learning new skills or studying market trends or whatever it is, right? Like you have the opportunity to prioritize what's important.
Dude, I really enjoy that, and I liked your example about Netflix because something that me and my dad like butt heads on a little, and it's not that this is the only way to think, but this is the way like I think, right? Like he he'll like always tell me, "Hey, did you see this show? Did you see this ball game?" Like, and I'm like, "Dude, I just don't watch TV." And it's not that I think TV's bad. I love television, and there's a ton of good stuff out there. It's just that like almost never in my scenario, it's the best use of my time. Almost
Hmm.
never.
True.
And that's just what I've realized is like it's generally not the best use of my time. So again, I think people like are kind of looking at it from an absolute value, like is it good? I mean, yeah, of course. If I go watch, I think the Ravens play the Bucks tonight, NFL, Thursday Night Football. I love that. But like, I also have been really meaning to reread this book, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy.
Yep.
Um, that's just kind of sitting here because that's my reminder to read through it. Like, it's 100-page book where like half the pages are like pictures and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
could probably get through that in the time that I'd watch that game tonight. And like this, what if this is the book that like changes everything? It's like
It's a
that's the
great book. I've read it and listened to it. So yeah, I definitely better use of your time.
yeah. I went through it once, and I liked it. It's one of those books that like I don't, how do you feel about books like these? Like this, there's clearly steps. It's like, okay, do this, right? Um, do you when you're reading those books, do you ever read them through and then do it, or do you do the tasks like as they give them to you, or is it kind of dependent on the book?
Yeah, I'd say it's dependent on the book. For that book, I definitely took things right away and implemented them as I read. So, but then again, like a lot of people I know, they're like, oh, yeah, I read a book a week. And I'm like, okay, but how much of that have you actually implemented in your life? Because
Yeah.
people always think knowledge is power. And then, you know, you get a lot of really smart people in a room, but they're broke. And it's like, you see this oftentimes with professors, it's like they're smart as shit, but at the end of the day, how much of it have they actually implemented to positively impact others, which then equated to value in their bank account, aka stored energy, which is what money is. And so you have to actually apply the knowledge in order to actually receive the reward. And so I think a lot of people, rather than focus so much on knowledge acquisition, focus on skill implementation.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else you have to share on that? I'd love to hear it because I'm writing this book. And I'll put air quotes around that because like anyone else, like writing their first book or whatever, it's just like an unraveling of like a million different ideas. But one of the concepts is about the difference between being a student and a practitioner. I don't think either one is comprehensive, but I do think experience or I'm sorry, being a practitioner, and like experience is gaining a lot more clout now than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it used to just be like degree, and I personally think education is super important. So like I'm not at all saying that. It's actually a weakness of mine is I don't think I'm educated in all the areas I could be like formally educated. But like I'm not like an
Well,
exercise science mid. What?
Well, I was just gonna say, no one's as educated as they could be, right? What does that even mean? You know what? You could be a PhD in anything if you really set your mind to it. I
Yeah.
just think
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you have to be very deliberate with what you want to be educated on. And I think I learned more about business in the first 6 months of my first real business than I did in 4 years of business school. So, for what it's worth, you know that's my take on
Yeah.
education.
No, dude, I feel you, man. It's why I was like I was flirting with the idea of going to get a degree and just realized like starting a business like I'll make money instead of spend money and I'm getting that degree or like kind of an example. What I was gonna say is I'm not like a running coach, didn't study exercise science, anything like that. But I mean, I've ran 8 ultra marathons in the last 12 months, and I got top five in 7 of them. Like I definitely know something about running. Like,
Yeah, that's
um,
way more
and-
valuable than an exercise science degree, bro.
yeah, right. Like, and dude, it's funny. This is the first one that I don't. This one is the longest 100 miles, and like everyone keeps asking me like what time do you want. I'm like, dude, I want to finish and finish healthy. That's the goal. I want to cross
Yeah.
I want to cross the finish line on my feet. That's what I want to do.
Well, and to your point though, like for anyone out there who is holding back from expressing their gifts due to a lack of a certification, I say step forward and help others with the thing. get testimonials, leverage those testimonials. You don't need a paperwork to say you can be a coach. I know like a ton of people who have been to every single Tony Robbins freaking certification under the sun. They got all the plaques behind them on their office. And again, they're broke. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You're learning all this rather than just going out there and changing lives and helping someone, then leveraging that testimonial and then helping another person. And sometimes you got to do it for free before you get paid for it. That's just the reality. But that's the thing, is like, if I'm going to do an ultra marathon, I'm going to call Sean because he's done an ultra marathon, not because you have an exercise science degree. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, dude.
again,
It's it it's such an interesting world, and I think like like obviously like technology and then like people being able to share their experience with social media is definitely like opening, the doors for that even more. Dude, I want to get back to something you were talking in the beginning. You said when you're talking about kind of like happy hustle, you're talking about your 10, I forget the word,
alignments.
um,
Yeah.
alignments. Yeah, I want to hear what those are, man, because again, for those that don't know, this is like happy hustle is, well, I mean, you can talk about it, but there's a lot of elements to it, and one of them's like a mastermind that I've had a chance to join some of the calls, and I've loved what I've learned, the connections I've made to others. So I probably should have done a little more of my homework and seen these 10 alignments, but I'd love to hear them from you.
Yeah, you're good. So, and real quick, what I'll say to everyone out there, and for you, Sean, if you're feeling brave, is don't just hear these 10 alignments. I want to actually put you through a quick assessment. So, grab a pen. If you're driving, don't, obviously grab a pen. Just pause it when you're ready, and then come back to it. But I want you to actually write down 1 to 5 in each of these 10 different areas, and I'll go through them quickly. But 5 is an A. It's like you're crushing it, you're happy hustling in this alignment. 1 is
Cool.
an F. It's like you're failing. Again, I wasn't much for school, but I do know the grading scale. So quantify yourself 1 to 5. Okay. And
I'm gonna do it now too.
yeah, I want you to. I want to hear your scores at the end of it. So, and I want you to think about just your last 30 days. Okay. Just this last 30 days for you. The first of the 10 alignments is selfless service, and it actually makes up an acronym called soul mapping. So it's your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. So the first is selfless service. Okay, meaning, are you actually giving back to others your time, your money, your expertise, or are you actually just living for yourself and your own personal gain? And as Tony Robbins says, the secret to living is giving. So it really is important piece to the happy hustling puzzle. So rank where you're at 1 to 5, okay, in selfless
Yep.
service. Oh, optimized health. Are you mentally, physically, and emotionally optimized? Or are you, shoving garbage in your pie hole and feeling lethargic and low energy, right? So rank where you're at in optimized health. And again, this is your own barometer for what a 5 is for Sean, and
Yep.
what it is for you out there listening. Okay, so rank where you're at in O. You unplugged digitally. Unplugged digitally. This one's tough, especially for entrepreneurs who leverage technology for their businesses. But are you using technology, or is it using you? And I find a lot of people are so caught up with their devices. It's just it's a big problem these days because we're never getting away from it. And so I just think it's really important to mitigate your exposure and to be very diligent. I, don't touch my phone 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes before bed. I do typically a 7-day dopamine detox, and then I'll go do complete digital detoxes, regularly throughout my year. So it's really important. So rank where you're at in you. L, loving relationships. Okay. What's it all for if you don't have love in your life, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll climb the mountain, then they'll get to the top, for lack of a better example, and then they look around and they're the only one there. They've isolated themselves and they lost their family and their friends on the journey. So think about your inner circle with your lover and your family and your closest friends, and really, how have you been? How have you been showing up just in the last 30 days, and rank 1 to 5? Okay. So you should have 4 scores right now, the soul part. You want to go through yours real quick, Sean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll give you a little color behind them. So,
Please.
yeah, selfless service, it's interesting. I'd say, I was going back between a 2 and a 3. Um, I think I'm really proud of what I do for my inner circle, right? So my family, I mean, the people that are close to me and talk to them all the time. Um, I really feel a deep desire to support people that do not have financial stability. That's something that I know aligns with me. I've wanted to do this for years and just taken no action on it. So, that's kind of, and that's a gaping hole. And like, first one was for that. Optimized health, I'll say right now, four, maybe a five. I think it really has to do for those that are looking to get to a 4 to 5. The fact that I have this goal of doing a 100-mile marathon, Carrie, you could run a lot, but if you eat like shit, don't sleep, don't rest, recover, don't take care of yourself mentally, you're not going to get to a 100-mile race. So
Mm-mm.
having that goal has helped me out for sure.
Yeah.
Unplugged digitally. I gave myself a 3, and I wrote during the week it's a 1, and during the nights and weekends it's a 5, because
Mm.
I'm the type of guy when I'm done with work, I literally shut my laptop, put my phone in my room and charge, and I'm done. But like, I don't think I want to be spending 8 to 10 hours a day just staring at a screen. Um, and like my whole work day is, and that's tough. Then loving relationships, I said like a 3. I don't think I think I could be there more emotionally for the ones really close to me.
Yeah. Well, and again, man, I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. And, for everyone out there listening, this is just your baseline. So to give yourself grace, but in order to grow, you need to know, right? So let's dive into mapping part. Okay. Mapping, the M stands for mindful spirituality. So, are you connecting to a higher power? Are you, doing breath work and meditation and prayer? And again, I don't care if you believe in one God or another. I just think it's important to have faith in something bigger than yourself. So rank where you're at in M. Abundance financially, right? A lot of people think this is the most important alignment, but it's not. They're all equally important. And so, think to yourself, are you living paycheck to paycheck in fear of your finances, or are you saving, investing, and spending wisely, right? P, personal development. You're either growing and evolving or you're shrinking and dissolving, right? So rank where you're at in P, personal development. And I like to implement a 90-minute personal development system where I'm reading 30 minutes in the morning, listening to something inspirational, educational in the afternoon, and then watching something, like a docu-series that's again inspirational and educational in the evening. And that just ensures I'm growing every day. The second P is
I love it.
passionate hobbies, right? So passionate hobbies is, doing fun things that you actually enjoy. And, I find a lot of people, especially driven entrepreneurs, they neglect themselves. They're giving so much to their clients and their business and their family and their friends, but you're not doing fun things that like really infuse that childlike wonder, and for me, it's fly fishing or horseback riding or going dancing with my wife or going, you know, playing soccer. I play competitive soccer my whole life or training martial arts. Like it's like doing things that light me up. So really prioritizing those passionate hobbies. And then impactful work. So impactful work is, are you actually infusing your passion? Yes, it's a buzzword, but like that inward calling on your heartstrings with your purpose, which is that outward serving mission, right? To actually make a positive impact, you know, and this is just a really important piece, that have an impactful work. And then N, nature connection, the final alignment, actually getting outside, enjoying Pachamama and our beautiful planet. And oh, by the way, protecting it in the process, being a conscious consumer, supporting B corporations and companies with ethical and sustainable supply chains. Like this is an important piece. That's why my company Eagle Breakthroughs even exists to combat, some of these ecological issues with plastic. And I just think, we're not spending enough time outdoors, and your time outside is directly correlated with your happiness. There's leaps and bounds of data around your nature exposure and your happiness levels. So get outside more. Anyway, that is the mapping part. So you should now have 10 scores. And I do want you to add up these scores. And if you're a 37 or above, congrats, you're happy hustling. Now, if you're 36 or below, well, unfortunately, you got some work to do. And so let's hear your last six scores from the mapping portion, Sean.
Yeah, I'm trying to do some quick math, but so mindful spirituality, it's funny. I spend a lot of time thinking about this. I do breath work every day, cold exposure, but I give myself a 2. I don't feel like it's harnessed, right? I feel like it's a little chaotic.
Mm.
Abundance financially, it's funny. I almost wrote a 1 and I ended up changing it all the way to a 4. And that
Hmm.
has to do with me being grateful for what I do have and not always trying to, kind of like what we talked about in the beginning of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about a 1 and I was like, that's not realistic. Personal development. I said about a 3. This is a big priority of mine, but again, I don't think it's harnessed. Like I feel like a lot of times I'm learning a lot of breadth and not a lot of depth. And again, this is for me, I have a lot of um, desire to get depth. Passionate hobbies. That's actually one of the reasons I signed up for this 100 miler. Right now, I'm happy to say I'm a 4 there because
Nice.
so a lot of people have mantras when they run these races,
Mm-hmm.
and mine's super simple. Mine, like, I know some people are like, be in this mile or something like that. Mine's really clear. Like, the whole reason I'm doing this 100 milers, there's nothing I like more than being in the mountains alone running. So, like, my mantra is I'm doing this because I love it. So
I
I'm
like
really
it.
happy
Yeah.
about that. Impactful work, I put a 3. Probably could have given myself a 2, maybe if I was a little more honest. I have redesigned my business, and in 2022, every company I work with is a mission driven company in the fitness and wellness space. So I like that. I think there's a lot of room to grow there. And then the last one, nature connection 4. Again, I think that's one that I couldn't agree how important it is from what you said it. I'm just at this point in time running this 100 is really helping me increase that. And as going through this, I'm realizing the importance of setting goals that align with your soul map and 10 happy hustle alignments because I realized I'm happy I set this goal of running this 100 miler because it helped me optimize my health, unplug digitally. It helped me on the passionate hobby side. It helped me on the nature connection.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely a catalyst for that. You asked the last 30 days. That the last 30 days was the hardest, like the most intense of my training so far.
There you go. Well, and again, this is a baseline. So for everyone out there, like, if you're not super stoked at your scores, well, that's okay. Give yourself grace, but also now prioritize change accordingly. And I actually take my own medicine. I actually do this same assessment every Sunday, and then I'll look at where I need to change for the week ahead. And I just want to share, one really important happy hustle principle, and that is you must give equal importance to each of these 10 alignments, but focus on one at a time, right? So you must give equal importance to each of these 10 different alignments, but focus on one at a time. And see, what most people do is, when they're at work, they're thinking about their family, and when they're with their family, they're thinking about work. So they're not doing either effectively. So if I could leave the audience with anything, is just really be present in whatever you're doing, right? And make the most of every moment. And shameless plug, if anyone does want to dive deeper into this stuff, they could go to the happyhustlebook.com and just get a copy of the book, which goes through each of these 10 different alignments and actually how you can improve your score if you do want to, dive deeper.
Yeah, man. Hey, selfless service. If anyone listening is looking to get this book, DM me and I'll buy you and send you the book.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
I'm Hell yeah, man. I'm trying to spread it. Again, Carrie, I want to thank you because I know we got to wrap up here, but we were just kind of connected on a whim and you were open to it, right? And that shows that you kind of have a positive outlook on life. Like you want to, give back, but then also like, maybe I can learn from him or whatever. And it's just been cool the way that like we've been able to connect. And um, I'm weird because things I'm looking to do, I just fucking force it and try to get it done. And like, that I had nothing to, no reason to want to connect with you besides like happy hustle, life's ultimate happiness, life's ultimate discipline, like kind of similar. Like, let's just,
Yeah.
we got to be similar in some ways and enjoy a chat.
Yep.
And yeah, man, like, that's why I'm happy to get people the book, because like I'm just trying to spread the word, man. And yeah, seriously,
Thank
I
you.
hope people reach out with that, because I'd love to do that for people. So, Carrie, I want to thank you for joining. We talked a lot about the importance of being intentional with your time. You took time for me today, so thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. I hope everyone gets out there and just puts the happy in their everyday hustle.
Hey, thank you for watching today's episode. If you got something out of this, it would mean so much if you could just take a second and give us a rating on whatever platform you're watching it on. And it would mean so much to the world if you could just find one person that you think this message resonates with and you can share that with them. Thank you so much for your support. Looking forward to share the next episode with you.